But
That's
there is no South Pole.
The edge, the outer edge.
So there is no South Pole.
So the middle is the North Pole. The middle is the North Pole, and the sun and the moon go around like that. The middle is the North Pole. So anywhere you go south, you hit the South Pole.
Well, here's another fine specimen of the human race. If you ever wanted evidence for evolution, here it is. A transitional species somewhere between a human and a rock. Let's see what evidence this genius puts forward to support the flat Earth.
But NASA faked the moon landings, every one of them, and that's where all our information is coming from. All that shit should be under a microscope.
There's some truth to that.
Nah, it's real. Nah.
Why is it always NASA with these people? What do they actually think is happening here? NASA is not in charge of space information. Yes, they are the highest funded space agency in the world, but that doesn't mean they get to control everything from space. 3 countries have developed rockets that can take astronauts into space: the United States, Russians, and the Chinese. And astronauts from 40 countries have been to space. Any one of them can leak the truth about the flat Earth model if it had any validity to it whatsoever. Besides that, you still have thousands of Earth-observing satellites from hundreds of agencies and private companies that are currently in operation. I just don't understand why every flattard thinks that NASA controls everything.
How the hell do they know what this looks? How the hell do they know that star and that galaxy are 500,000 light years apart?
Rather than saying, how do they know this stuff, and then just assuming that there is no way of knowing and that it all must be faked, why don't you find out how they know the distances in space? If you did some research instead of just asking questions, as you always seem to be, then perhaps you would have found out that astronomers build up a cosmic ladder of distances. We know the orbit size of the Earth by timing the transit of Venus across the face of the Sun from different places on the Earth. The variations in timing allows us to triangulate the distance between Venus and the Earth. Then we use Kepler's third law of planetary motion to determine the distances to the rest of the planets. Distances to stars are calculated by monitoring stars over the course of a year. Closer stars will move back and forth with respect to background stars. It's similar to the effect when you hold out your thumb in front of you while closing one eye then the other. This is known as stellar parallax, and basic trigonometry, along with the distance of the Earth's orbit around the Sun, can help us to determine distances of stars out to a few hundred light years. We then use this method to find the distance to types of stars that have a known luminosity, as with some variable stars. We can look at the brightness of these stars as they appear and then compare them to ones of a known distance. Because further things look dimmer than those that are closer, similar to the way that a distant car's headlights look dimmer than those of a closer car, we can use basic mathematics to determine the distance of those stars. A similar method can be used for some forms of supernovae that have a uniform luminosity. These are known as type 1a supernovae, and they take us to measurements of very distant galaxies. But of course, you already knew that, right?
When you even look at planets, they look like a light. I don't know what it is, man. There's some, whatever the sun is,
Flat Earth.
That's fake.
That's all fake.
Planets are lights, right? And all the images from NASA are faked. Well, you've got a bit of a problem because there are thousands of amateur astronomers taking pictures that must be fake as well. Have a look at these ones. Pretty damn good, right? Here's Jupiter, Saturn, Mars, all taken by amateur astronomers. How are these just lights?
There's no pictures of any satellites in the sky. Show me a video of a satellite in the sky. Satellites are supposed to be the size of a bus. A 747 is the size of 5 buses, and when they're 30,000 feet in the air, you can barely see them as a speck. You think you're going to see a bus that's 100,000 feet or a couple miles in the air?
Yeah.
Miles?
You can see the light.
Wait a minute. You're going to see
what?
They have a lamp on.
So you think they're UFOs?
Well, just when I thought we couldn't descend any more into the pits of ignorance, there you have it. No, satellites don't have a beam or a laser or for whatever reason, and no, you're not seeing satellites in the same way that you're seeing a plane flying. What you're seeing is the reflection of the sun. Because satellites fly hundreds or even thousands of kilometers away from the Earth, While you may be in darkness on the ground, the satellite's still feeling the full force of the sun. That light is then reflected in all directions, and some of it makes it into your eyes. This is demonstrated particularly well with a class of satellites called the Iridium satellites. Iridium is a satellite communication provider, and they operate a constellations of satellites in low Earth orbit. Iridium satellites have an antenna that is particularly good at reflecting the sun. And because the orientation of the satellite is known, you can predict when the reflection from the antenna is going to shine on you. This is called an iridium flare, and there are many pictures of them. These flares are easily visible with the naked eye and can be some of the brightest objects in the sky. Free software is available to monitor and track iridium flares for photography. But I guess you were right when you said,
A plane is at 30,000
No, 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 no,
see
no.
it.
How about this?
And
No.
a satellite is a
No.
couple hundred
You know
thousand
what?
feet.
Listen.
And you're telling me you could see it because
Yes.
it has a beam of light?
thanks for watching this video, and if you liked it, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and until next time, please use your brain.